Welcome to IAB Canada's podcast, The Business of Digital.
Within hours.
Well, thank you for tuning in, and today we have the distinct pleasure of being here downtown Toronto at Canada Post with Adam Padzik, who is the Digital Marketing Manager here. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you for having me on your podcast.
It's always a distinct pleasure to be sitting with our, with not only our members, but also with marketers, and also, especially with Canada Post, who is a marketer yourselves, and as well as a purveyor of marketing services and a medium. You have a number of different services that I'm sure that you spend a lot of time marketing to all Canadians. So I'm really looking forward to talking a little bit about that today. I also am curious about your teaching. Apparently you teach at college.
Yes, so back in January, I started teaching at George Brown in their continuing education area for a digital marketing course, which I'm now in the third semester of teaching. I've enjoyed it very much. It's a challenge. It forces you to get up there in front of a group of 20, 25 people every week and present. So it hones your presentation skills. It forces you to stay up to date on various topics in marketing and digital marketing, because as we know, this is an area that changes day by day, week by week, month by month. And lastly, it really lets you help other people. There's a lot of people taking those continuing education courses that are either switching careers or they've just arrived in Canada not too long ago. And as we know, Canadian education, Canadian work experience is very valuable when looking for work. And you're just in that position where you're able to hopefully help people a little bit. So it's been fantastic.
That's great. Also, since you've mentioned it, yes, things are changing rapidly. And I'm curious, I don't know, how old is Canada Post? It must be, quiz question, but very old. Let's just say very old. And obviously, over the past 20 years, I know the IAB's been around since the beginning of sort of internet advertising in Canada, so that's 20 years of change and 20 years of rapid movement. How has Canada Post been doing, and what are some of the things that you've noticed over the past few years that have really impacted the way that you think about, marketing and your job in general?
Canada Post is in a really interesting spot because as the internet came along, there were a lot of companies that were decimated by the way it changed things, and then there were others that just cropped up, and the internet is where they were born, and so they benefit a lot from it. Canada Post is unique in that we shifted a lot of how we do business. A lot of it was forced on us, what we call letter mail, so anything from a postcard to getting your bill, a physical bill in your mailbox, has sort of started to decline for obvious reasons. People don't send those things as much anymore. People communicate between themselves online. Companies provide a lot of important information electronically, and so that has led to a decline in the volume of letter mail. However, at the same time, the internet opened up e-commerce, and a lot of companies cropped up. A lot of existing companies started shipping directly to the consumer, and that's where we benefited greatly. So our business changed from where we got most of our business was letter mail. It is now actually packages and shipping parcels. So it's been interesting to watch that change. Now, at the same time, that's not to say that letter mail has gone away, or in our case, direct mail, which we still do and we still promote, and it's still a very important part of the marketing mix. So it's been really interesting to watch that change, and like you said, at the same time of providing those services, to also be out there as a marketer, as an advertiser, reminding people that we do offer a lot of great services to businesses, because the other thing that's changing is competition. Companies like UPS, like DHL and others are there, and businesses have those options, and we want to remind them that even though they may know of us, there's a lot that we offer that's actually very beneficial to them.
That's really interesting, and IAB has over the past 2 years really started to focus a lot on this phenomena of the direct-to-consumer brands. And this started, gosh, it would have been about 10 years ago almost now, with Dollar Shave Club, creating subscriptions for razors and sort of mocking, the bigger brands online just in a cheeky tone because they were able to really quickly and nimbly navigate social media and digital in general. And then, this has now exploded to the point where you're seeing, the most unlikely of direct-to-consumer products being shipped, straight to the customer's house. Most recently we saw an example of Oreos customizing packaging and sending that directly, which obviously is a massive opportunity. It's a massive shift. Certainly retailers, need to be aware of this, but also, that means that the brands themselves need to have a whole suite of services and best practices and operational changes in order to do fulfillment. Does Canada Post see itself as somebody who would work directly with the brands, or do you work with some sort of partner like a Shopify type of enabler, or what does that look like? Do you go direct to the brands? Or
we have various different structures of how we work with companies. It depends on size. It depends on where they're shipping, how often they're shipping. But you're right. This change is very beneficial. This change of subscription level services. So, like you mentioned, the razors. There's food options. Meal kit delivery services, for example. All these companies. It's quite beneficial to the business and to shippers like us because we can more accurately predict our volumes. We know how many people have signed up. We know that they've signed up to receive a package every 2 weeks, every month, whatever it is, and that just helps with a lot of things like forecasting and actually understanding our volumes. Now, I think the jury's still out on on how people will take to all this. I think there's certain products like razor blades that are certainly something that people know they'll need on a regular basis. It remains to be seen. I know there's a lot of companies that have cropped up, for example, in subscription boxes for clothing, for example. Mm-hmm. Will we see that take hold? There's a huge companies are battling it out now in this meal kit delivery space. Fascinating stuff. But as a society, will we go down that route? How far will we go? How many of us will have subscriptions that we're signed up for, and what will they be?
That's really interesting. And do you think that, you mentioned some of the competitive landscape. Do you think that there's a lot of room for innovation and for differentiating your service when it comes to shipping? Sometimes I've noticed in my own experience, I kind of cross my fingers and I hope that it's a certain shipper, mm-hmm. because I know that they will leave the parcel at the door, as an example, as opposed to making me go and collect, right? And there's various, I think, user experiences almost in the delivery process. Is that something that Canada Post is sort of excited about, like, innovating on? Or
so this is a great point, that you would actually hope for one shipper versus another. It's all about convenience, of course, and so will they leave it at your door? How far is the depot if you got to go pick it up, etc. We always have to consider regulations, and we're maybe whereas someone else who's doing it privately maybe has more leeway. We have certain standards that we have to abide by, and other things, but not that that's not changing. There are certain things. That there's definitely room for innovation, and perhaps in the future we will see more of that differentiation going forward to say, we are company X and we're always going to be either, maybe it's speed, maybe it's convenience, we will leave it at your door, we won't leave it at your door, etc. We're seeing a lot of this innovation with companies like Amazon, dropping packages off in the trunk of your car, or going into your house and stuff like this.
That's my kind of service.
Yeah,
that's great.
But it's fascinating because the expectations of customers are changing so quickly. I saw this meme the other day. It was like, 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, it was like you were told that your package would arrive in 8 to 10 days, and it came in 8 days, and you were so happy. And now it's like, if I don't get this cat toy in 24 hours, I'm going to kill myself. That kind of thing. So the customers are demanding more and more, yeah. And we're going to have to respond to that for sure.
Mm-hmm. And so when you think about your target and the people that you're trying to reach online to communicate all of this stuff to, you're a B2B advertiser, and how has that changed? Have the options become a little bit more fluid for you? Because I know, from my, the strategy, the planning days, it used to be a little bit more difficult and challenging to do B2B. There was a couple of tools and tricks up our sleeves, but I wonder, has that changed at all? Has it been easier for you to get to your targets?
Certainly easier to get to them. I mean, I guess it also depends. We sort of divide things by size, so we look at small businesses, medium, large businesses. The strategies are different depending on who we're going after. If you start with the small guys, definitely much easier. I mean, you've got business owners or entrepreneurs who are just starting businesses, going online, doing research. Those are crucial moments to get in front of these people, to let them know we're there, to show them our options, and at the same time, really, like you mentioned, show how we're different. Pricing is a huge thing, especially for smaller businesses. We're going up against other companies that may be trying to compete with us on that aspect of it. Then when you get to sort of the medium and the larger guys, it's a lot about thought leadership. We want to make sure we get out there. We are a company, like you mentioned, that has a lot of years behind us. A lot of we service all of Canadians. We have a lot of data. We work with a lot of partners. There's a lot of knowledge that we can share with others and help them in various aspects of their business. Because, like I mentioned, we focus on things like direct mail and shipping and a few other things, but it's about showing how we're different and getting in there in front of people. The B2B thing does become challenging, as we all know. There's a lot of different decision makers at play. The smaller the business, sort of the less decision makers, but then you get to bigger companies. Who do you get in front of? There's marketing departments, there's logistics departments, and et cetera. So.
Yeah, and I can think of like one social media network that is probably, like a good one for you, but... Yeah. But barring, I guess, one of the things that we always used to say when we were doing B2B business was that, especially with the smaller businesses, the SMBs, or the SMEs, we were saying things like, before you're a business owner, you're also a consumer. And what makes your business really interesting is that, and it's not actually, most people are now up against this. The demands of the consumer have become synonymous with their online experiences. So things like, Uber and the ease of use and Uber Eats and Amazon and all of these people that have really started to nail the user experience, that experience expectation bar has been transferred into everything that they're doing. Right, so when it comes to being a business person who is running a business, if you as a consumer, because we're all ordering packages, are having a really great experience with Canada Post, I'm assuming the next time you're reviewing who a good shipper will be. Yeah. It's almost like this weird referral business, but also the proof is in the pudding type of thing. So that must be a kind of an interesting way to market your services in the delivery itself. Yeah. Right? So that's kind of cool.
You and I were chatting earlier about the differences between, Canada and other parts of the world. And, there are things happening in Europe, for example, that we are not used to and may eventually come here, like the ability to choose your shipper, for example. That's not as common, I don't think, in Canada as it is when I'm doing some shopping online in Europe. As I'm checking out, I actually get an option. Do I use the country's sort of national shipper? Do I use a private company, etc.? So.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's an interesting, and I wonder if there's regulation or anything like that in the various different regions. So moving to the other piece of this, I know that you guys have done a lot of work on the direct mail side of the business as well, which is kind of interesting because of the fact that you're big users of online advertising, but you're also obviously walking that line of making sure that there's a good balance of media being used, not only for yourselves but also in the marketplace. So what are your thoughts on direct mail and how that fits into the entire ecosystem.
Well, historically, direct mail was in a really interesting place in a person and in a household sort of environment. It held a really special place where every day people would go to get their mail, and there were, like I said, letters, postcards, important information, documents, etc. So there was a lot of attention focused to that part of the home, and over time that has started to shift, but it's still a very important part of the home and a person's routine. So we know, and we have studies and white papers, which I encourage people to check out on canadapost.ca, which really show that people still attach a lot of strong and positive emotions to that part of their lives and to the things that they receive physically in the mail. Now, there's the whole physicality aspect of it that's still very important. That stands out from the digital experiences that we have today. So it's changing. The environment itself is changing. What you're getting as you go to your mailbox and you open it and you look at everything that you're holding, that the mix there has changed. And so, it offers challenges, it offers opportunities for people to stand out as well. That environment is not as controlled as, say, like a Google, where you purchase ads on a search engine. That one company controls sort of the environment of the person interacting on it. When you advertise through direct mail, your piece is there among others, and you have to find a way to stand out. There are a lot of best practices that you can follow, and there is a lot of good evidence to show that this is still a very good thing to be doing to be effective as a part of your overall of your marketing mix. Again, it's changing. What the future looks like, nobody knows, but we do know that it's still important to people, and there's value to looking at it as part of your marketing mix.
Cool. And obviously you guys use it.
We do, and in fact, proof is in the pudding. So we do use direct mail to promote direct mail when we go out to people. And then the other thing I guess I should mention is there's a ton of innovation in that space. You wouldn't think of it maybe right off the bat, but near field communications, things where you can tap your phone onto a piece of paper that has technology embedded inside it, where you can connect with things, personalized options. So personalization is very hot right now, and we think of digital, but personalized vanity URLs, things like that you can connect a person to online. Because again, we like to point out that we are not, we haven't been living in a cave. We understand the current digital realities of the world, but there's a way to connect it with the physical. So direct mail is a part of it and can help work with your digital environment.
That's fascinating. I've been hearing a lot about just RFID tagging and just sort of interesting work that's being done there in other industries as well. Not in online advertising as much as some of these other areas that are trying to track, the life cycle of clothing or the life cycle of certain products. So, when you think about the progression of digital in general and how things have become smaller. And a lot more compact. The whole idea of having almost disposable RFID type of things embedded into paper even, or into some sort of a tactile product, without getting creepy. And there are ways to do that, but to be able to actually, bridge the, what is the life cycle of a piece of DM, which would be, really awesome. And I agree. There's obviously a lot of innovation still to be done in that space. Although I'm still a much bigger fan of receiving a parcel than I am of receiving a piece of paper. But I do have to ask, because we were talking earlier, you are a news junkie, and what do you like from a print perspective? Are you still what's your view on, and it doesn't have to be a prediction, but maybe it is. It's the Adam prediction of our print and magazines. What's their are they going to go away? Are they going to have a rebirth? What do you think?
That's a great question, and I wish I had the crystal ball. But if anything, I think maybe it will depend on the environments that people interact with them in. I don't see people continuing to grab a newspaper on their commute to work and using print in that way. But do I think that nice coffee table type of pieces or catalogs for luxury brands are dead. No, I think there's a lot that is still there's a lot of value there still. But that kind of daily disposable thing, I don't see that continuing much longer. It's just too convenient, and we are, as consumers and as consumers of something like news, we're expecting the freshest information. We're checking, if you're a news junkie, you're checking that news feed a few times a day. There's no way a newspaper is going to be able to continue to give you that.
Sadly, I mean, from the research that we're seeing, in the digital world of consuming news, not enough people are actually reading the content itself, but more, attracted to the headlines, which, to me is one of those things where, again, the print tactile version of things is sometimes, serving us as society a little bit better because of the fact that it makes you slow down and, environmentally you're able to sort of immerse yourself into the actual content in different ways.
Yeah.
But that's kind of neat. Any sort of advice for the younger generations that are getting into this business? Based on what you're seeing, I know that you're spending a lot of time with students that are, sometimes recalibrating their careers, or, there's the, we're doing a lot of work right now at the IUB around talent. And what does the future of an online marketing person look like? And obviously we do talk a lot about data, but in your mind, what would you suggest that if you're studying at university or college, what are some of the things that you think are going to be attractive assets in the future?
I would say stay on top of things. Even once a week, just go in and check. There's a lot of great sources for news on digital marketing. Just take a look at what's going on. Just as long as you're aware at a high level, it gives you a leg up because you know the kind of things that are available to you. A digital marketer's toolkit a year ago is different than it is today. Even a few months ago is different than it is today. I would say stay open-minded, but also be very prudent. Don't just accept things at face value. We're in an environment in digital marketing where there's a lot of vendors, there's a lot of companies trying to show value and become a part of our marketing mix as marketers. And you really have to be able to ask the right questions. Be careful of vanity metrics. It always has to come back to how it is that you're going to help your company, your brand image, your bottom line. At the end of the day, digital marketers, we're now expected by our superiors and by our companies to show where that money went. How did that, what's the ROI on that? So we have to get super practical about it. All these technologies are new and sexy and fun and, and likes and shares and viral and this and that. But at the end of the day, we work for companies, we run businesses. It needs to make sense, to the brand, to the bottom line, etc.
So it seems that kids these days seem to be showing a lot of interest in learning up AI, and that this is the future of everything. It's being used everywhere. Is that something that you see Canada Post also agreeing with, or is that something that's being integrated into your thinking?
Definitely. I think every marketer needs to be thinking about AI. It keeps coming up as the top subject that marketers think will make the biggest impact on marketing going forward. We're already seeing it online in the way that we have products recommended to us, in the way that content is tailored for us, etc. And Canada Post definitely thinks about it, and we definitely see ourselves and our products as part of that. When companies have all these different points of information on customers, they are able to better interact with them and to serve them up content and information and marketing and in different places, and Canada Post's products fit into that. So when you have somebody who's logged in, you have their email information, but you also have them interacting with you in physical ways, ordering products to their house, for example. You know a lot about that customer, and our products can definitely take advantage of that, and we will be doing that going forward.
Well, that's amazing, and certainly I think I wish I can talk all day with you about Canada Post and the future of Canada Post. It's such an iconic brand in Canada, and then with respect to AI, because of the fact that the entire industry is just wrapping their arms around this right now. I would love to come back in, say, a year or so and then reconnect with you just to figure out, where are you with the whole AI evolution and of course catch up on all the other good things as well. So
definitely. Thank you.
I really appreciate your time today, and thank you for being such an active member with IAB Canada and its community, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for joining us on IAB Canada's podcast, The Business of Digital.